Hey everyone, Steven here with 9 to 5 Google. This is the Google Pixel, Google's first solely self-branded smartphone. There's a lot to talk about here, so let's jump right in. First, let's get the specs out of the way. The Google Pixel has a 5-inch FHD AMOLED display, and its Pixel XL sibling has a slightly larger 5.5-inch QHD AMOLED display. Both are covered in Gorilla Glass 4. Other than that, the two phones are mostly the same. They're both the first phones to have the Snapdragon 821, 4 gigs of RAM, 12 megapixel and 8 megapixel cameras, 32 gig or 128 gigs of storage, the usual Bluetooth, NFC, AC Wi-Fi, accelerometer, and gyroscope. One notable difference, however, is their batteries, with the Pixel sporting a 2770 mAh battery compared to the Pixel XL's 3450 mAh battery. But what sets this phone apart? First, let's talk about the hardware. Google Pixel doesn't exactly have the most stunning design a smartphone has ever had, but it's attractive enough in my opinion. The thing that might stick out to you first is that the top third of the back is glass. Google says that this serves to give you better cellular reception, but I would bet it's mostly there to give the phone a unique look. And it does that job well. Within that glass back is the newly renamed Pixel Imprint fingerprint scanner, and well, it's a fingerprint scanner. It works just fine and it's pretty fast. In the hand, the Pixel XL feels really nice. Its metal unibody design feels and looks like a mashup between the iPhone 6s and the HTC 10, and its rounded edges makes it very comfortable. I think the Pixel XL hits a sweet spot for me, fitting a 5.5-inch display in a body that's bigger than the Galaxy S7 Edge, but smaller than the iPhone 6s Plus. The phone has a great display, and while it might not be the best viewing experience in direct sunlight, it's more than enough to get the job done. I'm more than happy with the colors and vibrance of the display when watching videos and playing games. It's sad that I even have to mention this, but yes, the Google Pixel and Pixel XL both have a headphone jack. The phone does ship with a dongle, which I'll get to later, but you'll be glad to know that it's not a dongle for your headphones. Where am I disappointed with the hardware? For one, there's only a single mono speaker. It sounds fine in my experience, but it's unfortunate considering the phone's price point, which is something else we'll get to in a minute. Another place this phone is imperfect is that it isn't waterproof. It's rated IP53, which means it will only be able to handle some splashes and light rain before it's vulnerable to damage. This is just something that I'm nitpicky about, but I'm also not a huge fan of the vibration motor. It's better than the Nexus 5X and Nexus 6P for sure, but it's nowhere near the iPhone's Taptic engine, which in my opinion is the reigning champion of vibration motors. But in my opinion, the phone's software makes up for these hardware fallbacks. I'm a huge fan of Google's pure Android experience, and if you are too, you've come to the right place. This year, Google has gone even further with its modifications of stock Android, adding the Google Assistant, the Pixel Launcher, circular icons, and more. The most obvious visual changes here are the Pixel Launcher and the circular icons. The new launcher has a new app drawer, an easy-to-use Google button on the top left, a weather and date widget, and of course, circular icons that bring some much-needed consistency. I wasn't a huge fan of them at first, but I think they're growing on me. But Google's software and services are the company's biggest strong points, and the Pixel serves as the best portal to these ever. The biggest story this year is the Google Assistant, which is baked right into the OS. Much of what Assistant does will be familiar to you if you've used Google Now, but the Assistant is a far more intelligent and personal helper built on top of Google Now. Assistant can play your news, from your selected sources of course. You can get a summary of your upcoming day, it can learn things about you, it can play games with you, and more. Going back to the Pixel Imprint fingerprint scanner I mentioned earlier, the Pixel also ships with a new section in the Settings app. One of the options in this section is Swipe for Notifications, which lets you swipe down on the fingerprint sensor on the back of your phone to show your notifications. You might be familiar with this from the Honor 8, which launched earlier this year, but I think it's a pretty nifty feature. The phone also ships with Allo and Duo pre-installed and disables Hangouts by default for most users. RIP Hangouts. If you're a Project Fi user though, the phone will detect that you, obviously, need Hangouts when you first set up the phone and won't disable it. Adding to the awesome software features of the Pixel, Google is throwing in unlimited full resolution storage of videos and photos in Google Photos. And if you ever run into any problems with your Pixel, Google has added a new feature in the Settings app for contacting support via a phone call or a chat. While that might not be a deciding feature for enthusiasts, I could see the average smartphone user being enticed by this. It's definitely nice to have support on call if you ever need it. With the Pixel, Google has built a complete top-to-bottom package that integrates the best of both its software and hardware, and this is clear when you use the phone. Performance is notably snappy and consistent. Very rarely, if ever, did I notice a frame rate drop when navigating around the OS. And it handles even the most graphically intensive games and apps just as a phone with the Snapdragon 821 should. But one area where the improvements are most obvious is the camera, which according to the DxOMark benchmark is the best camera on a smartphone ever. I'm not someone to have high expectations from smartphone cameras, but I have to say, I was impressed with both the quality of what the Pixel produced as well as the performance of the camera app. The Nexus devices were long plagued with low quality cameras and bad camera performance, and Google has basically fixed these problems completely with the Pixel. In fact, the camera might be my favorite part of the phone. It's super fast, there's no lag, and the viewfinder consistently pops up in 1 or 2 seconds flat from the lock screen. The phone has no OIS, but it does have EIS, and the electronic image stabilization it has is great. Check out this footage of me running with the phone. And here's a sample I took of me riding my bike, recorded in 4K.
It's not exactly easy to ride with one hand, keep this phone as steady as possible, but I guess that's what we're testing.
As you can see, the EIS does a great job stabilizing this video. As for photos, the phone's 12.3 megapixel f2.0 aperture camera is just good. I wouldn't say it's really in a league of its own, but it's definitely one of the best smartphone cameras of the year. Would I go throw away my Galaxy S7 Edge and trade it in for this one? Not really. Overall, this phone is a great package, and that's what I think is so special about this device. It's a Google-made package from top to bottom, and yeah, it has its compromises, but it's the start of something great. The idea of what Google might be able to accomplish going forward is exciting, and the Pixel is a glimpse at a future where Google's own hardware competes with the Samsungs and Apples of the world, and maybe even wins. And to get you to switch, Google has added an OTG dongle in the box, which lets you plug your old phone into the Pixel and lets you basically just transfer everything over. Sadly though, the great package you get with the Pixel comes at a cost. The standard Pixel starts at $650 and the Pixel XL starts at $770 for the 32 gig models. You can get financing through either Verizon or the Google Store, but these phones are unlocked and will work with most major carriers. At these prices, the phones aren't a no-brainer, but I also don't think it's an outrageous asking price by any means, especially if you manage to get one of those really nice limited edition blue models, and you get affordable cellular service through Project Fi. Anyways, thanks for watching everyone. This has been Stephen Hall with 9to5Google. You can check out our full written review of the phone at 9to5google.com. I'll put the link down in the description, and you can follow me over on Twitter at HallStephenJ. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.